Welcome, Miracles Tribe members and Miracles Attraction community on Facebook. Thank you for joining us today for our continuing series of people who have been positively transformed by their spiritual practice of A Course in Miracles. I'm Teresa McGallagher, and I'm joined by my partner, Carly Jed Hardy, with our guest, Seema Dueland. And Carly will introduce her.
Thank you, Teresa. And thank you so much, Seema, for joining us today so we can get to know you better. Seema is coming to us from Spain, so it's really a delight. And by way of introducing her, Seema refers to herself as a mini United Nations. When people ask her where she comes from, she needs to ask them how much time they have. She belongs nowhere and everywhere. And originally, she was born in Uganda, Africa, by Indian parents. She came to Sweden as a refugee and lived there for 45 years until she recently moved to Spain. Having said all of that, Canada is what feels like her second home, as a bigger chunk of her family lives there, and that's been the place where she spent most of her summer vacations. She was married to a Norwegian with whom she has two twin sons, and the sons now live in Dubai. Work-wise, Seema has been fortunate to have interesting jobs that have taken her all over the world. She's visited 45 countries and counting. She's worked at multinational companies as well as at startups and a nonprofit where she created 1.1 million jobs among the poorest women in India. So she's had a fulfilling life in many ways, but for as long as Seema can remember, she's felt like a misfit, trying to adapt to the country she lives in and to the daily basis, of what was going on in that particular culture. The first time she ever felt like home was 5 years ago in Buenos Aires, Argentina. In spite of the fact that she didn't know anyone there and did not understand the language, at last she felt like she had a place where she belonged. And then once again, she had that sensation of being at home when she had visited the first gathering with a group of those who were studying A Course in Miracles. So we would love to hear about that first gathering, Seema, and I'd love to hear about your experience with A Course in Miracles and how it has brought you home.
Thank you. Thank you, Carly, and thank you, Teresa, for having me here. It's truly an honor being here, really. And yeah, finding my home, I think, and finding my own safe place and my happy place has been my quest for as long as I can remember, really. And maybe because it's of my diverse background, being of Indian origin, born in Uganda, living in Sweden, and all these different languages, I have to deal with on a daily basis. I was like, where do I belong? Like, where is my home? Because nothing felt like home, really. So if I had to choose a flag, I wouldn't be able to choose a flag. Which flag is mine, So I always used to think that I would find my home in maybe a certain country or in certain surrounding or maybe in a certain culture or maybe in a family structure. But no, that didn't bring me home. And when I did all this extensive traveling too, I think in the back of my head, I would be thinking like, oh, maybe this is the country, maybe this is my home. I don't know, right? But no, didn't get there either. And if you'd come home to me, I had my bookshelf, which is filled with self-help books. So I've been really searching and never getting there until I came across A Course in Miracles. And to me, that felt like coming home, really. It was like the answer for all my questions. And I'm saying coming to because it felt like there were so many previous events that led up to me getting into the course. It was like a pathway home, really. And so it was like my search had ended with A Course in Miracles. And before I came in touch with A Course in Miracles, I used to feel so lost. I don't know, like, where do I belong? There was always this question in the back of my head. And I just got more and more frustrated because I didn't find this home. And I used to wake up in the mornings having negative thoughts, and these negative thoughts wouldn't leave me. They would be with me throughout the day, and that would drive me nuts. Like, please go away. I can't deal with this. And it just didn't feel right. Like, this is not me. And even if I've always been my worst enemy and always felt like not being worthy, I knew somewhere deep inside me that this is not the truth, that there must be something else, that this is not the real me. And it was funny that I actually spotted that real me when I went to Buenos Aires, like you mentioned, to Argentina. And I don't know why, I just felt at home, and every day I would wake up and feel so happy and in awe for all the beauty and everything. I didn't know what was going to happen the next day. Every day was an adventure. And I'd never felt that happy, even though I didn't know a single person or I didn't understand what anyone was saying. But it was home. So I was so happy, like, yay, I found myself. I found the happy Seema. I found my true self. Now I don't have to go back to that sad kind of lonely feeling Seema. So I go back home to Sweden and feeling yay. But just after a couple of days, it's like the blinds just pull down in front of me, and I go back to being my old, like, dark, negative kind of Seema. And I'm like, I don't believe this. What is this? And I have to find her again. So I just felt like, how can I do this? I even went hiking, did the Camino de Santiago de Compostela, which is a hike of 800 kilometers, searching for answers. And yes, I did feel happy there as well, all alone on the Camino. But when I came home, it was the same thing. I just went behind the shades, kind of. And I just figured, like, there must be another way. It can't be that I have to walk 800 kilometers or go to the other side of the world to find my true self. I have to find her wherever I am in my daily life. So I didn't know what to do. And it just felt like, as more days, months, years passed, I just felt like I was a prisoner in my own head. And I just couldn't get rid of this head. And after a while, I started loathing myself. Like, who is this person? That's not me. I want to find the real happy Seema who is inside there. I know that. And just because the fact that I knew that she was there, I knew which state of mind I wanted to be in. So me not being there just made it even worse. So I used to be, crying for help, like, help me, help me. And I used to pray. And I think more than praying, it would be begging, like, someone, please help me. And I knew all the problems were in here, but I couldn't get rid of them. And I came to a point, I just felt like, can someone just chop my head off? Because I can't do this anymore. So I think my prayers were answered, because back in Stockholm, I met this woman who then introduced me to A Course in Miracles. She invited me to this book club called Miracle Mondays. And I'm like, hey, you had me by the name, Miracle Mondays, I'm coming. And I didn't know anything more, right? That it was a study group or nothing. She didn't tell me. She just told me it's a book club. So I go there, and I don't know, I just felt at home, because the people there, they were so authentic, speaking about their challenges and the perspective of how they tackled the challenges. It really resonated with me, and I just felt at peace, at home. I still didn't know that this was a course going on. So I saw all these different books on the table, some normal books, and then this thick book. And I got kind of scared of this. Like, what is that? Like, no, please don't tell me I have to read that book, because I'm not doing that. So I asked them, could you recommend me a book? So I got all these recommendations, and among them, I kind of resonated with Marianne Williamson's A Return to Love. So I started reading that book, and I just fell in love with it and what she was saying and everything. So while I was reading this book, I was also recommended to take Lisa Anatoli's 40-day program. So I think, yeah, it was on my birthday, 2018, when everyone else had gone to bed. I'm like, I'm going to give myself a gift. So I went online and registered for this course. And oh my God, these 40 days changed my life, really. Because, all these negative thoughts that I've been having, suddenly I started changing perspective and started emptying my head of those. And I felt so much more calmer and at peace, and just being more aware of my thoughts and how to tackle them. And also, I think the biggest lesson was to take a step back, like let it go. And I think my personality is more of a control freak. I need to be in control. And I think I also have this caretaker personality that I love to help people, and I want everyone to be happy and have good lives, right? So I appointed myself as fixing everybody's life without them even asking or not even knowing that my intention was to help them. So I would be pretty frustrated because I'm doing all these things, right? But it's not working out. So this course taught me to just step back, you're not the one in charge. There is someone more intelligent than you, a bigger source that has the bigger plan and has the bigger story. So you can just relax. And that was such a relief to me. Like, thank God, I don't have to do all this work. And because I think it's all been, churning in my head and drove me nuts. So I felt so good after those 40 days. I even asked my ex back then that, do you see any difference in me? And he's like, yeah, you're so much more happier and you're more joyful and more loving. So that was great hearing somebody else from the outside seeing the difference and not just me feeling the transformation I was going through. So when I was done with that, I figured if 40 days, which isn't too much, can change my life so much, what would the 365 days do to me? So I ordered this thick book, which I was afraid of. And you should have seen me. When I received it, when it came home to me, I was like, oh my God. And I think I actually hugged it, held it here by the chest, and even kissed it. Like, thank you for entering my home, and for entering my life. And I hadn't even started the course, but I was just in love with the book. So I started doing the workbook lessons, and by this time, I had left my job, my full-time job, which I'd held before, because I started sensing this strong force within me that wanted to come out. And I realized that it's not going to come out in this job, so I have to leave it and see what happens. And that's when I found A Course in Miracles. So even if I was looking for new jobs, I just felt that I couldn't focus on that. The only thing I wanted to do was focus on A Course in Miracles. And I want to go all in. So if the course said you have to meditate every hour, I'll do that. Every 15 minutes, I'll do that. I'm all in, so totally. So I just realized, like, why don't I just listen to me? This is what I want to do. So I decided to take a sabbatical and just do the course and focus on it a full year. So it was going all well, and I was changing my perspectives and all. And at the end of the year, my partner and I decided to go separate ways. So I was living in his house, so I had to move out. And as I hadn't been working for a year or so, year and a half maybe, my budget wasn't the best. So I realized I can only get something half decent in Stockholm. And this is when my son suggested, well, Mom, you don't have a job, you're just studying, and you can do that anywhere in the world. So, if you would go to Thailand, you can rent a nice bungalow. I'm like, hey, I like the way you think. Let's do that. Why not? I don't have to be here, right? So I started looking at that, but then I told him that if I'm to move, I'd like to live in a Spanish-speaking country, as I've been studying Spanish for the last 5 years. So we started looking at places in Spain. And a couple of days later, I called this friend of mine to tell her what had happened. And do you have any contacts in Spain? Because you've been living in Spain. And she just says, well, we have a house in Spain. You can rent that if you want to. I'm like, what? So 5 days after the decision to break up, not know where to go, suddenly I had a place to live in Spain, which I've been dreaming of, where I could study my Spanish, right? Become fluent. And I tell you, if somebody had told me a month before that, Seema, you know what? Next month you'll be living in Spain. I'm like, no way. You're just joking. Like, no, this is home. Why would I move? And suddenly I find myself, packing up. I gave away everything I had, basically. I sold all my furniture and just came here with 2 suitcases, like my life in 2 suitcases. And the way it all went, it was so smooth and serene, like all the help I got before coming to Spain. And then when I got here, I was received with so much love and so much warmth. My landlady's mother lives here, so she introduced me to all her friends, and I got some of my own friends, and I just felt so embraced, like, oh my God. And then when I come here, I see that this isn't just any place. Yes, it's the middle of nowhere, but it's a beach house right on the beach at the Mediterranean. So I have this turquoise water outside, and I can walk along the beach every day, and like, whoa, thank you. It just, and I just felt like this must be the doing of some higher force, really, because it went so smoothly. And even if I was in shock when I came here, like, what have I done? What the hell just happened? I don't know. What am I doing here? Leaving all my loved ones back home, and all this pain, and the uncertainty of not knowing what's coming next, just because I took this leap of faith. So, having said that, this adventure has had its challenges as well. This house where I'm living was flooded, and that has never happened. And as long as people can remember here, they're like, we haven't seen this coming for 50 years or something. And then when we sorted the house out, we were quarantined in Spain. I still didn't understand what they were saying on the news, really. So I was kind of in my bubble. So I was locked in here for 3 months. But thank God, being a student of A Course in Miracles, it teaches us that don't be a scavenger dog looking for all the faults in people, places, or things, but look for the good things. I would focus on that. So I would see all these gifts in all these little small things. And for me, it's like every gift is like a small pearl. So at the end of the day, it would be like I had a necklace full of pearls, right? Like, wow, this person was so nice to me, or this person called me, or look at this flower, look at the palm tree, look at the color of the water today. All of these were small gifts to me suddenly. And I would be so grateful sitting here, and I would be so grateful that I would have tears in my eyes, that I don't believe that I'm here. All this is happening. And a while ago, I just realized that coming from a place of feeling of not being worthy, I realized that my gratitude was actually coming from the wrong perspective, because it was more like, oh, I don't know. I don't deserve this, but thank you. I'm so happy you gave this to me. And that didn't feel good. Like, that gratitude wasn't coming from the right place. So I realized that even if I was like, yay, happy on the surface, below the surface, I had this guilt trip going on, playing me. And I had guilt of I felt guilty for being in this beautiful place. I felt so guilty for leaving my loved ones, my mother for one, back in Sweden. And I also felt guilty for being happy. It was so crazy. And so I've been able to work with that thanks to the Course in Miracle lessons. And just recently, I realized that, you know what? I don't have to do anything to receive something good. Because, we've all been conditioned that if you do something, that's when you'll receive something, this give and take relationship. I just realized, like, no, I don't have to do anything. Because just by being, I'm entitled to all these gifts. I just need to be. And that's such a relief to me. And I'm so happy right now that I'm doing the Course in Miracles lessons again through you guys. And the best thing with doing that is that I have a companion whom I study with every day. So my companion is Maria in Scotland. So, nowadays I wake up, and before I used to have all these negative thoughts, and now it's like my head is emptied and has created space for all the good things to come in. So now I wake up and I'm just enjoy, like, yay, a new day. Which gifts will I receive today? I don't know. And even if they're not so good or whatever, I'll accept everything as it comes. So having said that, obviously I would have my gloomy days as well. But I'm so happy I have Maria to talk to. So, she can put me in the right perspective. So I'm so grateful to you guys for offering this tribe and this way of studying the Course in Miracles. I wish everybody would do this. What a world we'll have. So thank you so much. I love you guys, and for everything you're doing for us and bringing us home together. Thank you.
Thank you, Seema. We really enjoyed hearing your story, and it's just so delightful that you've been able to transition from that negative headspace into a place of peace and joy.
Yeah, it's just unbelievable. And I don't think I would have managed. I've tried for so many years. And then comes the Course in Miracle, you know, and just changes everything. So ever so grateful. Thank you.
So beautiful for us to see. Yes, thank you.
Grateful to have you with us today.
Thank you.